guys, it's Yolanda here and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing this glam vampire look with some vampire bites and just a very light smoked out outer V. So let's just jump right into the video. So first I'm going to start out by taking my Milk Makeup cooling water and putting that all over my eyes for the puffiness and tiredness and just rubbing that in. Then I'm going to be taking my NYX Honey Do Me Up primer and using that to prep my skin. Now I'm going in with my Urban Decay Optical Illusion primer. This is good to blur out my pores. I put this in my T-zone. Okay, now I'm going to move into brows, so I'm going to be taking the ColourPop Brow Boss in the shade Brunette and using that to outline the shape of my brows. Today we're going for a more glam look, so we're doing a more precise brow. Then I'm going to go in with Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pomade in the shade Ebony. And I'm just doing my brows like I normally would, being very precise, making them sort of dramatic. Then I'm going to be taking the Hard Candy Glamouflage Concealer to carve out my brows and clean them up. Next I'm going to prep my eyelids, so I'm going to be putting the Becca concealer on my eyelids. I'm going to blend that out with a beauty blender. Now I'm going in with the Morphe 35B palette and I'm going to take the whitest shade and I'm using that to set the concealer on my eyelid, making sure that I'm packing on a lot. Then I'm going to jump into that black shade. I'm going to be putting that only on my outer V. I do bring it in a little bit to the inner portion of my eye, but just with whatever products left on the brush. I just want a very light smoked out look. Then I'm going to be taking a blending brush, a clean one, and just blending out that outer V so it's not so harsh. I want it to be smoked out, not precise. I'm going to take a little bit more of that black on that same brush from before and add in some more because I took out some of the color. I'm going to be taking that blending brush again and blending. I do this a couple times till I get the desired look that I want. So it's mostly based off personal preference of how you want your eye look to look. Now I'm going to be taking that same brush from before and jumping into that white shade to bring more of that white back in. Then going back in with the black and putting on a little bit more of that black. Now I'm taking the e.l.f. eyeliner and I'm going to be making a wing. After that eyeliner is dry, I am going to go back in with a little bit of that black to smoke it out, just a little bit, and then blending. Then I'm going to take a makeup wipe and I'm going to clean up that edge. Then I'm going to be curling my eyelashes and applying mascara. Then I'm going to be taking this Maybelline eyeliner and I'm going to put that in my waterline. I'm going to take that same eyeliner and put it on my lower lashes as well. Now I'm going to be applying false lashes. These are the Morphe lashes in the style Daydreamer. I'm taking the Wet n Wild foundation and putting that all over my face. I do mix this in with a lighter foundation just to get it more of that vampire look, so a little bit more pale. And now I'm just blending that in with my beauty blender. Now we're going in with concealer. I'm taking the Wet n Wild and the ColourPop concealer. I like to take two always, putting the Wet n Wild one on first, and then I put the ColourPop in just the inner portions of my eye. Now I'm just blending that out with a beauty blender. Now I'm going to be taking the Fit Me Maybelline powder and a dry beauty blender and setting all the areas where I have put concealer. Now I'm going to be taking my e.l.f. finishing powder and putting that all over my face to set the rest of my face. I also use that same brush to wipe away any excess powder that I had put on beforehand. Moving on to the lower lash line, I'm taking a lining brush and jumping into the black from the same palette and putting that super close to my waterline. Taking the skin tone color and this white shade and mixing them together and using that to blend out the black from underneath so it doesn't look so harsh and it looks more smoked out. Now I'm going to be taking mascara and applying that to my lower lashes. Then you can take any highlighter you want, and I put that on the inner portion of my eye and the brow bone. Now I'm going to bronze up my skin. I'm taking ColourPop bronzer in Afternoon Delight and using that to bronze up my skin because we did look super pale. So I just bronze up my cheeks, both sides, my forehead, and underneath my chin. Now I'm going to be taking a ColourPop highlight in the shade Here Kitty Kitty, and I'm just highlighting my cheekbones, my nose, and my Cupid's bow. Now I'm going to be taking that same black eyeliner from before and I'm going to be lining my lips with it, as well as shading them in a little bit. I'm using this as a base so I can make my red lipstick a little bit more on the darker side to change the color. I do this a lot to manipulate colors. Now I'm going over top of that with the Liquid Catsuit from Wet n Wild in the shade Missy and Fierce, and as you can see it has darkened up the shade. I'm just applying it to my lips as I normally would. Now we're going to be jumping into the Vampire Bites. So the supplies I'm going to be using are cotton balls, liquid latex, and blood. First we're going to start off with the cotton balls. So we're going to take a little piece of cotton from the cotton ball and I'm squishing that together and rolling it so it gets super tight. I continue to roll it until the whole cotton strip is super thin but feels thicker and stronger and is super tight together. Now I'm going to be forming that little piece into a circle. So it'll be small and round like that. This one ended up being too small, so I do end up making a different one. But it's totally your personal preference. Now I'm going to be pulling out some more cotton and I'm going to just do the whole entire process over again. I'm going to just speed through that to save time, but I'm just doing the same thing again. Just rolling the cotton together in my fingers, making it nice and tight and thin, and then turning it into a circle. Next, I'm going to be applying latex to the areas where I want this vampire bites to be. Then I'm going to be taking one of those circles that we made with cotton and sticking that on one of the desired bites, making sure it sticks. Then I'm going to go over top of that with liquid latex and trying to smooth it out. You do have to do a couple layers on top of the cotton to make sure it sticks well, but just make sure that you let the liquid latex dry a little bit before you put on another layer. Now I'm just doing the same thing, adding on the little circle that we made to the desired bite, pressing it in, and then adding liquid latex over top. Trying to smooth out the edges so it blends in. That's what I'm doing right here. I'm just making sure that they blend into my skin and don't look too pushed out and too fake. Now after you have your desired layers, you have to let that dry, and then you go over top with that with any type of translucent powder that you have. I make sure and put a very generous amount. Then to make it blend into my skin, I'm going in with the Wet n Wild foundation and putting that over top and blending that in with a beauty blender. Then I'm going to be setting that with the same translucent powder, painting the wound. I use a Wet n Wild paint palette in the neutrals palette, but you can use eyeshadows if you don't have paint. Now I'm just going in with that burgundy shade from that palette just to add some wound colors, so making it look bruised and irritated. I go in with a little bit of that burgundy, I go in with a tiny bit of that green, and then I go in with a tiny bit of dark brown. But I don't want it to look too fake, so I don't add in too much colors, just irritation colors, because it wouldn't be as bruised yet. Then jumping back into eyeshadow, I'm taking that cranberry and red shade and putting that inside the wound and around the wound to make it look more bruised. Then I'm going to take a black and I'm going to put that inside where I would have been bitten. And a little around the wound as well. Now I'm going to be taking some blood and I'm going to put that inside the wounds, as well as a little around them. Now this is where it got kind of tricky for me. I was trying to drip the blood on to the wound so that it would drip from there, looking as if it had just happened. It was kind of difficult with what I was using to apply it, but eventually I got there. I did try to use things, but I was having a hard time, so I ended up just not doing them. But I do go in with that same blood and try to drip that out the side of my mouth, which, like I said, I was having trouble with the dripping part. And that is the finished look. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope this helped you out. This was my idea of a glam vampire. I really enjoyed doing it and I really liked it. I might end up doing this for my Halloween look because it was fun. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye! Don't forget to check out my previous videos down below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right over there.